All right, we're going to look at a couple more completing the square problems, some that are have a couple of other kinds of steps. So let's first take a look at our steps for completing the square. We first move constants to the other side. So in our last problem, x squared plus 12x plus 18, we subtracted 18 on both sides and then ended up with this equation here. X squared plus 12x equals negative 18. The next thing we did was said, oh, okay, we have to create a term here so that we could factor. That's where step 2 comes in. We're going to use this formula. Take whatever b is, divide it by 2 and square it. And then we want to add what we get from that process to both sides of the equation. In the problem we did, we got 36. We added 36 to both sides of the equation. And then we started to factor. So we factored what we ended up with on the left. Last step was take the square root of both sides. So we're going to do that same process, but we're going to look at a problem that involves another step. So when we don't have this coefficient of 1 in front of the a. So one of the homework problems that is like that is number 28, right? Here's 28. So we've got a 2 in front of the a term, that first term. 29 is like that also. I've got a 3. 30 is like that. I've got a 4. I need to do something to cancel out that term. So I am going to do number 30. Number 30 is 4x squared minus 40x minus 12 equals 0. Let me get a different color here. So I have, this is number 30, 4x squared minus 12x, minus 40x minus 12. Minus 40x minus 12 equals 0. So I'm going to use that same process for completing the square, but before I do anything, I have to make sure that this very first term has just a 1, not a 4. So to get rid of that 4, I'm going to divide every single term by 4. That whole equation gets divided by 4. That cancels out the first coefficient. Now I just have x squared. 40 divided by 4 is 10, so I've got a minus 10x. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so I've got a minus 3. And of course, 0 divided by anything is just 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is to divide every term by the coefficient of x squared. And in our class, we've been calling that the a. And the only time I have to do that is if a is not equal to 1. If a is equal to 1, I can skip this step. Now we're back to just completing the square as we always have been. So I'm going to add the 3 to both sides. And I've got x squared minus 10x equals 3. Right, 0 plus 3 is just 3. And I have a space that I'm leaving on both sides of the equation. I need to look for a number to put into that space on both sides so that I can complete the square on the left. Remember, I want to end up with something that looks like something squared on the left and some number over here on the right. So I am going to find what that number is by taking my b value, negative 10, dividing it by 2, and squaring it. Negative 10 divided by 2 squared. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Square that, and I end up with 25. All right, 25 is going into the box. X squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 3 plus 25. Remember, I want to add that new amount, 25, to both sides of the equation. Let's factor the left. X squared minus 10x plus 25 becomes x minus 5 times x minus 5. You may want to skip that step and simply write x minus 5 squared. And that's what I have on the left. And on the right, I've got 3 plus 25, which is 28. Take the square root of both sides, x minus 5 squared. Take the square root of that is just x minus 5. So I'm taking the square root of the left. And then the square root of the right is the square root of 28. Add 5 to both sides. X equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 28. Why, you ask? Because when you take the square root of a number and you're using an equation, you actually are taking both the positive and the negative square roots. One more step, I need to simplify the 28. So square root of 28, I could split up into 4 times 7. 4 I could split up into 2 times 2. And there's a pair of 2s that I can pull to the outside of my square root. 2 times something. The 7 is what's left over. So the square root of 28 is actually 2 times the square root of 7. So x equals 5 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 7. And if you want to write out both answers separately, x equals 5 plus 2 radical 7. And x equals 5 minus 2 radical 7. And there are the two answers. Let's do another one that's like that. So go back up here. Let's try number 28. You could do number 29 and check your answer, but let's do number 28. 2k squared plus 16k equals negative 12. So this is 28. 2k squared plus 16k equals negative 12. Get that right? Yes. So still I have this 2 being multiplied by k squared. I really can't have anything but a 1 there, so I'm going to have to divide through the entire equation by 2. If I divide every term by 2, so 2k squared divided by 2, 16k divided by 2, and negative 12 divided by 2, I'll end up with k squared, right? My 2's are going to cancel, plus 8k, right? 2 goes into 16 8 times, equaling negative 6. 2 goes into negative 12, negative 6 times. Now I'm going to have to complete the square, so k squared plus 8k, and I'm going to leave a space here, equals negative 6, and I'm going to remind myself that whatever I add to the left, I'm going to have to add to the right. I get what goes in the box by taking the b coefficient, dividing it by 2, and squaring the result. So b is equal to 8. 8 divided by 2 squared is 4 squared, or 16. So 16 is what goes in the box. K squared plus 8k plus 16 equals negative 6 plus 16. So I'm adding that 16 to both sides of the equation. Now I'm going to factor the left. K squared plus 8k plus 16 becomes k plus 4, right? 4 times 4 would give me 16. 4 plus 4 would give me 8. And over on the right, I've got negative 6 plus 16 is 10. Oh, I've got a square here. There we go on the left, right? Because it's k plus 4 times itself. take the square root of both sides. I end up with k plus 4 on the left. I end up with plus or minus the square root of 10 on the right. Last step, subtract 4 on both sides. K equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 10. And I can leave it as is, or I can write out the two answers separately. Negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 10, and negative 4 plus the square root of 10, and negative 4 minus the square root of 10. Tune in to the next video and we'll complete the square and take a look at what happens when you get some fractions.